Assalamu alaikum warahmatullah. I hope those are right now watching this tutorial are doing great and having good health. In this video, I shall try to cover shortly about diabetes, which is commonly known as diabetes mellitus. So, why we need to study about it? Because if you look for the disease worldwide, the leading non-communicable disease, you will find diabetes. And basically, it was observed previously that the oldest people are commonly suffer by this, but right now the youngest people also suffer for this. So student of English versions and O-level, right now those are watching, you know that you have to study about hormones and endocrine glands part of your books. On that aspect, you need to learn about diabetes. So what is diabetes? In short, if I say that diabetes is a condition where the blood sugar level higher in the body. We take food for what? We take food in order to live. So we take food because we need energy, we need ATP, and for that ATP we can do our work. So simply, if we take food, the carbohydrate particle should be synthesized by the body cell. But if our cells are not ready, or there are some sort of changes in our body so that the glucose or the carbohydrate particles are not getting synthesized, then the level of sugar will be increasing, and that condition is known as diabetes. So simply we can say that diabetes is the condition where blood sugar level is increased in our body. So now we need to know why it happens. And what is the physiology inside, what is the cause inside. Before going to deep digging that part, we need to know one thing, that in our body we have an organ which is called pancreas. So pancreas is like that. So that pancreas, it has four parts, like head, neck, body and tail. So the last part of pancreas is known about the tail of the pancreas. So that part is the tail of the pancreas. On that last part, there is some ductless gland, which is known as islets of Langerhans. So we call it islets of Langerhans. Islets of Langerhans. And these cells, I mean, from this gland have some different type of, unique type of cells, which is called beta cell. And these beta cell produce the hormone, which is name is insulin. And now we need to study about it. Insulin, what is it? Okay, so this pancreas is a mixed gland. So on the other part, where we will study about digestive system of human body, then we will to know about pancreas with a lot of description. So simply I just say that this is a mixed gland. That means the pancreas has both exocrine and endocrine activity. I mean, the exocrine part produce enzymes, and endocrine part produce hormones. One of them hormone is insulin, and this insulin has a very effective activity in our body, that it actually regulates the carbohydrate metabolism inside. So it creates the environment so that the body cells can synthesize the carbohydrate. So when the production of insulin will be hampered, or somehow it being stopped, then the less amount of insulin, or if there is no insulin, so simply the sugar level increase in our body, and that condition is known about diabetes. So what simply we can memorize, that diabetes is a condition where blood sugar level increase in our body, and it increase due to the lack of insulin or absence of insulin. So simply, what are the types of diabetes? So there are few types, but mainly we have two types of diabetes. Number one, type 1, and number 2 is type 2. So the differences is, in type 1 diabetes, the body is actually unable to produce insulin. So it stopped the production of insulin. So that is why type 1 diabetes is rare. I mean, in case of 10% of total cases of diabetes, 10% cases we got type 1 diabetes. And in type 2 diabetes, what happened? The body get insulin resistant. I mean, the body cannot produce the sufficient amount of insulin. That is why, I mean, in 90% cases, in 90% insulin cases, we got type 2 diabetes. So simply, the type 1 diabetes is where body cannot produce insulin, stops production of insulin. But in type 2, the body is not producing the sufficient amount of insulin, and that is why it's called type 2. You can say type 1 diabetes as autoimmune diabetes. I mean, immune system attacks the cell of pancreas, and that is why it stops the production of insulin. But in case of type 2, the body get insulin resistant. There are another types. We can say this is pre-diabetes. The pre-diabetes is a condition where the body gets increase the sugar level, just cross the normal sugar level, but is not high enough to say this is diabetes. So the intermediate range, it's called pre-diabetes. I mean, these people are at risk to develop diabetes. And gestational diabetes is another type where actually this is the condition where the blood sugar level increase in case of pregnancy, especially in women. I mean, the placenta produces insulin blocking hormone, and that is why the blood sugar level increase in pregnancy time, and that condition, the diabetes, is called gestational diabetes. So simply the types of diabetes are type 1 that stop producing insulin, type 2 that the body cannot produce sufficient amount of insulin. Number 3 is pre-diabetes, which is actually the body just right now crosses the normal blood sugar level but is not high enough to state diabetes. That intermediate range is known as pre-diabetes, and gestational is for the pregnant women. Those are actually in pregnancy state. The placenta is producing insulin blocking hormones that stops the insulin production. So we have nearly 4 types of. Another thing is that diabetes insipidus can be another part, but this is not, diabetes insipidus. This is another, but I need to explain it later on. Insipidus. This is not related with diabetes mellitus, but the symptoms are more common. I mean, where the kidneys are producing too much fluid, and that is why it's called diabetes insipidus, though it's not the part of diabetes mellitus. So simply we know the types of diabetes. Right now, what we need to know that what is the normal level of blood glucose. So if we look for the normal level, we need to know that glucose level, normal. What is the normal glucose level? You know that simply the FBS, or fasting blood sugar. You might know this is the diagnostic process of identifying glucose. If 100 milligram per deciliter, if the blood glucose level in our blood, or if somebody's blood is 100 milligram per deciliter, or equivalent to 5.6 millimole per liter, then we say this is normal. This is normal. Okay, this is normal. So 100 milligram per deciliter in case of fasting blood sugar. I'll definitely explain what is fasting blood sugar, randomized blood sugar, random blood sugar, RBS, and then oral glucose tolerance test. It has a different explanation. But primarily we need to know that 100 milligram per deciliter or 5.6 millimole per liter is the normal range for a person. But if it crosses like 100 milligram to 125 milligram per deciliter, which is about 5.6 to 6.9 millimole per liter, then this range is about at risk, and this stage is known about pre-diabetes. But if it crosses 126 millimole per deciliter, or this is milligram per deciliter, or 7 millimole per liter, then we can say that when it crosses 7 millimole per deciliter blood sugar level in the blood, in FBS, that fasting blood sugar, you know that fasting blood sugar is the condition where the blood sugar has been taken after 8 to 10 hours of your last eating or last meal. I mean, you're taking dinner and then you have 8 to 10 hours space where you didn't take any food, and then you took the test and you got 126 milligram per deciliter of blood, then we can say, okay, the diabetes has started. So you have already developed a condition in our body that it produces the less amount of insulin, and that is why the sugar level increase. So 100 milligram per deciliter is a normal range, which is deciliter. You know that 1 deciliter blood, that is 1/10th part of the life. Deciliter means 1/10. Millimole per liter, you know that milli is 10 to the power minus 3 mole, or you can say that 5.6 times 10 to the power minus 3 mole per liter. So it's all about stoichiometry, but simply we can say that when it crosses 7 to 7.1 or 7.2, then the condition is diabetes. So in case of random blood sugar, that is the blood sample has been taken anytime, randomly, anytime, and then if it crosses 126 milligram per deciliter, whatever, 7 millimole per liter, then we can say the condition is diabetes. So one more thing, in case OGTT, I mean oral glucose tolerance test. Oral glucose tolerance test is that when after fasting, after doing the fasting blood sugar, if a person has been swollen with the sugar liquid inside, and then after 2 hours it's taken, then 200 milligram per deciliter in case of OGTT, or 11.1 millimole per liter if this is the sugar level after OGTT or oral glucose tolerance test, then we can say the condition is known about diabetes. So definitely there are a number of tests done like HbA1 and definitely the glucose test, glucose tolerance test. There are some different diagnostic procedures to identify the diabetes. Definitely the physician will decide which one should be the diagnostic test, but I am just saying a normal and preliminary idea to understand the diabetes mellitus diagnostic process. So this is very simple explanation. And then if you see the symptoms, what are the symptoms of diabetes mellitus? Number 1, number of urinations and frequent urinations. The patient will go to the toilet more frequently, so the urination will be more frequent. So number 1, frequent urination. So as the frequent urination is going on, so thirst will take place. So that is why you can say that excessive thirst is another symptoms. Excessive hunger. The patient or the person will feel the hungriness inside, because you know, excessive thirst, excessive hunger, gradual loss of weight in spite of having good food also. So the person or the patient will feel that the body is getting less weight, tired feeling and weakness, blurred visions, roughness of the skin, and delayed healing of the wounds. If there is any wounds in our body or in that body of that patient, then the healing would be longer period. So these are the symptoms of a diabetes patient. This is generalized, but also in case of men, it might have developing the less desire of sex, and also the erectile dysfunctions, or we can say that ED, the erectile dysfunctions, can be seen in case of men, and in case of women, roughness of skin and other some complications will may seen. So in case of symptoms, I'm again saying that frequent urination, excessive thirstness, then excessive hunger, gradual loss of body weight, then tired feeling and weakness, blurred vision, roughness of skin, and the delayed healing of wound. So these are the general symptoms of a patient, of a diabetic patient. Now you see the complication. What are the complications? I mean, what are the long-term effect can be seen by patient, that you see that heart disease, heart attack can be the complication of a diabetic patient. Neuropathy, nerve disorder, nephropathy, retinopathy, blurred vision, hearing loss, and foot damage. So there are a lot of other complications, but these are the common complications in case of diabetes. So what are the complications? The long-term effect that can be seen in the body of a diabetic patient. So what can be? Heart disease can be neuropathy, nephropathy, retinopathy, blurred visions, and hearing loss. So these are the complication or long-term effects of a diabetic patient. So simply, we are just talking about the diabetes and some sort of like a normal blood glucose level and the symptoms. Now, what can be the preventions? What can be? You know, there are two things. That is, this is genetic disease. This is genetic disease and lifestyle modification. Lifestyle modification. Okay. What about genetic disease? If you see that a person, I mean the nearest relative like father, mother, grandfather, grandmother, if they are, any one of them are a diabetic patient, then the offsprings and the people of next generations may have at risk to develop the diabetes. So that is why it's called genetic disease. And lifestyle modification, those people are actually overweight, obese, gaining weight day by day, they are actually at risk to develop diabetes. So less physical activity and more junk food and sedentary lifestyle may lead that person to the diabetic condition. So that is why two important words that should be considered in this topic, that number one is genetic disease and lifestyle modification. So what should be the preventive measure? And in this case, if you say that prevention, or not prevention actually, before going to explain that, we can say that treatment. The treatment can be 3 Ds. 3 Ds, okay. 3 Ds. Number one, diet. Number two, discipline. And number three is drug. These three would be the treatment for a patient which is already diabetic. So diet chart. I mean, this is very common words used by the diabetic patient, but if you see the diet, in case of diet, those are a dietitian or the physician who is actually looking after that patient will definitely recommend specific diet chart. But generally we can say that more fruits and vegetables, any type of sweet food or processed sugar should be avoided for a diabetic patient. I mean, in case of diet, a diabetic patient should be very careful in case of taking foods. Those are actually processed sugar food. It should be avoided. And number two is discipline. This is very important. Discipline means one should be, discipline is the key to all success. It's not about true in case of diabetic patient also, but also in any cases. Discipline means, you know, that it's prescribed that a diabetic patient should rise at very early morning and then should walk away and do some physical exercise and movement, makes more sort of like activities inside, and that is why disciplines is one of the key factors in case of diabetic patients. Drug is another thing. I mean, those who are taking oral medicine or insulin injections, depending on the physician prescriptions, that should be taken. So drug definitely recommended by the physicians or dietitians, and diet, same, and discipline. So this 3D should be the preventive measure, the curative measure actually. It's not curative because diabetes is not curable 100%, but can be followed. In case of prevention, what is the main part of is that it's not only the old age people are developing diabetes, also young age people also developing diabetes. That is why one should be very much conscious to their own health, own lifestyle modifications and body fitness. I mean, if a person is getting overweight due to some lack of exercise, some bad habits, some sort of sedentary lifestyle, choosing bad food, then this should be stopped. So if a person can actually maintain the body weight, do some physical exercise, taking good food, avoid smoking, avoid junk food, if these sort of things can be done, I think she or he can be actually prevented from a lot of diseases actually. So not only in diabetic patients, so whenever special students of English versions right now, those are watching, so please try to remember the types of diabetes, the complications and the symptoms. Of course, it is written on your book, so whenever you study, try to understand the cause of diabetes, from where the insulin is getting blocked in case of type 1 and type 2, the structure of insulin, the islets of Langerhans, and the 3D. So discipline, diet and drug are the main measurement can be taken for the diabetic patient. So this is a very short description about diabetes, and it has a lot of things that I didn't actually explain, but students of A level, those are right now studying HSC level biology, you know that you have to know a lot about it. This program on this tutorial is designed for only SSC level student, that is why I was very primary level. So see you on the next video. Take care, stay well.